And good morning, everybody. It is Friday, 28th of October, and it is 10 a.m. in Los Angeles, and it's time for Colourlab Ai Q&A. So welcome, everybody. Good to see you on the stream. I thought, I will do this Q&A live on YouTube. We just finished 2 weeks Colourlab Ai masterclass. It was absolutely amazing. It was the biggest masterclass we had so far. More than 300 people joined. And amazing things happen, when you gather like a group of people to work intensely, with the software to learn, to understand, how to do some things we showed for the first time. Amazing feedback we got, and kind of, it always leads, everything we learn, it just leads to more things that we want to learn. So I actually think that I'm going to keep doing these Q&As because I think they're great inspiration as well for us to understand what could be done. Sometimes, we didn't even think about, type of workflows that you want to do. So I'm going to continue doing them on Fridays, so you feel welcome to, schedule 10 a.m. on Friday, where I'm going to be going live on YouTube and covering these questions. So I want to say hi to all. Oh my God, we have quite a few people here. Very good. Thank you guys for joining. Good to see you all. Good to see you. Hey Jens, hey Carol and Philip. Hello guys. Isaac, good morning. Oh, Sasha is with us. Hello Sasha, long time. And Justin from North Carolina. Very good. And Gary from Atlanta. Justin, no, we actually, fetching's working pretty good for us. Not sure, we haven't had any problems. Salvatore from New York. Hey, Michael, good to see you from Montreal. Good morning, the big colorist community. Hey, Steve, very good. Good to see you here. Thank you guys for amazing questions. Joseph, I'm gonna add your question to the list of things I'm gonna be showing. Very good. And we have a Misha from South Africa. My God. Hey, Igor. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Hope your grade is going well. Igor was actually kicking tires with an amazing project to Colourlab Ai. Super happy to see him do that. Without any further ado, let me start basically with things. But oh my God, there's more people coming through. Andre, hi, and Justin. Oh my God, someone from Jamaica as well. Very good. Hey Justin, the green screen, we're going to have to actually really refactor quite a lot of work. So this is not going to happen before version 3, I'm afraid. Yes, I'm afraid the alpha channels are not going to start working until version 3. This is when we're going to integrate it. That's unfortunate, because it's a really big work. Somebody from Poland I can see as well. Sergey, hello Sergey, and Houston. Houston, we don't have a problem today. It's okay. By the moment, not. Hey, good. Hey, Darren, how are you, mate? Sorry I missed your little video and your 50K. I can't believe Darren Moisten guy's got a 50,000 followers. Actually, I want to tell you a funny story, like when we're talking about the amount of followers and all of this. Sorry to digress, but I just reminded me when Darren sent me that message. Years ago, this guy comes to one of my classes. I used to do them back then in a classroom here in Los Angeles, in Burbank. And this guy comes in, he's super interesting, character. And he says, hey, listen, I'm an editor and I really want to learn color grading and I'm really interested into learning. I said, yeah, you're at the right place. Let's go. And he did every single course I did. And then even after he finished all of my courses, he said, I want to do this course again. I said, no, man, you won't learn anything new if you do it again. Don't do it again. No, it's this and that. And then a few weeks later, he says, can I buy a coffee? I really want to see you. And I said, okay, let's go. And he met me. I had an office back then in Silicon Beach. We were developing the first version of Colourlab Ai back then, actually. And he came and met me. We had a coffee. And he said to me, you know, I really want to stop doing this kind of editing post. I want to get into color grading. But, you know, I really love teaching, you know, how you do this. It's really inspiring. And I said to him, great, listen, I think what you should do is this. And I gave him exactly like an idea about, teaching, beginners, and, like explain to him, what really market needs and this and that. And that person, by the way, his name is Wakas Kwasi, who's today the YouTube's like a, Davinci color grading superstar. And I don't know if I should take credit, for pointing him in the right direction. He certainly is very talented and likable person, and he's a hard worker who's been posting on YouTube weekly, and he definitely deserves, that kind of, amount of followers he's got. But I think it's a time for him to come and do some more courses with me and learn some new stuff. Because, I have been watching him at the beginning, it was interesting, but now things are getting a little bit repetitive. So anyway, so I just really wanted to, share with you that little story. Darren, I have some good tips for you. Your content is amazing. I really love it. So if you ever wanna catch up and chat a little bit, I'm happy to share you my point of view to kind of, tell you what I think, is a next step for us when it comes to kind of all, social media, YouTube and everything, that we should need. Excellent. All righty. So let me go now and start, with all the things that I've prepared for you today. It's just a little bit. First of all, fine-tuning color matching. Okay, this is really something that, now that, we completed the masterclass, because, my tutorials are always like, hey, let's do the simple stuff. Now I want to show you a little bit how you can actually tweak the matching engine to how you work and how your content is and what kind of results you want to do. And these changes are sometimes subtle, but, this is really something that when you start developing your workflow with Colourlab Ai, you'll find that, certain methods work better than the others. And the reason why we left them like this is so that you can actually make those fine tunes and get things done. All right. So let me show you first of all. So normally when we ship Colourlab Ai, it comes, with these settings. So you go to, AI selection as a default, right? Always. And then you also have here use auto exposure as a default. Okay, so what this does, okay, so first of all, when you do like just a normal like color balance, auto matcher, right, it is going to try to kind of give you some sort of exposure, recognize faces and expose them to the face. Okay, so this is the kind of the first thing it's gonna do. So just sometimes, right? Sometimes just consider if you have a footage that is already like, pretty well balanced, it doesn't really require a lot of, guessing. You can switch off this use auto exposure, right? You don't need it sometimes. You don't need it in every shot. Just switch it off. And so look, what's going to happen now is if I do the auto match, it's actually going to, respect the original exposure and it's not going to adjust it. So what you can do is you can then just go and say, well, give me now my kind of, auto exposure, setting like this, right? So I can go and change it and adjust it and make it to whatever level I want. Only when I want it, because when you say auto exposure is going to do it on every shot all the time. But, you can just go and say, well, no, I just want to do a manual, selection when I want to do it. So this is just a really, an important kind of, difference that I would say, you should consider, because we put this default auto exposure just because we were thinking, okay, maybe you're going to open material with lots of different exposure settings, and this really works well for that. If your material is all over the place and everything's like completely unbalanced. But if it's like a scene, like here I have something that's shot more like a kind of in continual fashion, then those small changes in exposure you can control manually as well. Okay, so this is kind of number one setting. So just sometimes if you find like, oh, I'm really like getting like annoyed that everything's kind of constantly getting balanced, just switch it off, right? Okay, another thing I wanted to show you which is basically, oh yeah. So you saw me always demo like, oh, do the auto color, then apply show light. Well, actually, if you're working on a piece of, like a scene like this, you don't want to go first auto color. Why? You already know what you want. So the first thing you do, right? You apply your show light, right? You get to a look that you want. You think like, okay, this is my look, right? This is a good reference look, okay? And what you do is you make the reference straight away. You press R, okay? And now you don't really go and match the other shots, using auto color. No, you're matching them using your reference, okay? You want to have your reference dictate the things straight away, because that way you already, like in single pass, you're creating continuity. You don't have to go balance and then apply. No, I know. Why don't you just go and say, well, this shot is good for this scene as a reference. Boom, let me go and just make the whole scene work. This is an interesting example. So for example, when I press teal on this shot, right, I'll get this kind of match, right? Now look, actually this shot, right, is a long tracking shot, right, and finishes here. So what you really want to do on these shots, you want to press the white button, because the white button is going to say, well, it's not just the frame that user wants, but it's actually all of the frames that user wants, right? And that's really a big difference, right? That's a really big difference. That's where you kind of go like, oh, I understand. I am going to now get a median value, because the tracker goes, the shot goes under the bridge, finishes in very bright sky, and you want to get a single CDL that's going to cover the whole range of exposure, right? Or you could say, no, this particular frame is really the frame I want to match. You can always park it and then press teal again. So you can do that as well, okay? So this is just another, like a little kind of tweak that you want to do. Okay, another way how I like to tweak things as well is I like to sometimes still use that the auto exposure, which is not always, use auto exposure is like not on every shot, but I like to make it like it to be printer lights. And especially I like to use this method, printer lights, instead of AI selection, with a finals. Okay, now let me show you. It's going to give you different results. So what's the difference between these two, so just to understand? AI selection is trying to really find you the best match. Okay, so it's going to look and it's great when your shots are like having excursions, right? You have a little bit different time of the day it was shot and all of this, and it's a fantastic method, by the way. It's going to choose out of all the models the best one. But finals is slightly different, right? So let me show you. So when I press finals, like on this particular shot, look at the difference. So this is the finals, and you see how kind of it matched these two shots more in kind of style that a colorist that is doing final grading, right, the pass would do, right? Because what you're doing is, like, when you do the finals, you're first of all controlling your shadow. So the shadow is always constant, because when we do the final grade, especially for theatrical releases, we're always trying to kind of keep our exposure, especially the blacks, continuous, that there is no fluctuation in there. So that's number one. And then we're also trying to kind of instead of just trying to kind of create like a shots that are arbitrary the same, we're trying to create shots that are continuing kind of following the same path, even though if their RGB forms are not identical. So you see, I would say that, for example, in my case, the finals kind of gave me better tonality, because the AI said, oh, I think I need to kind of put this a little bit more warmer reddish because there is more warm in this shot. It tried to kind of really push them closer without really understanding the context, right? So I think the finals, right, would probably be the best method to work here. So I can now basically say, okay, this shot is looking good. So I can now go and just work my finals. And then I have a shot that says, oh, but the exposure is not quite right here. Never mind. Then I just go and select this guy here. Okay. And basically I say, okay, this is my exposure, but make it 0 or make it half or make it, like this, right? Now I feel I'm kind of really working more in a way how we are used to work when we're doing the final color grading pass. Now certainly, is this like a little bit more manual? I would say yes, it is. You can actually still go and change, for example, theatrical probably is better here. But it gives you kind of, I would say, a little bit, what I'm saying is this. Some jobs will, really work better like this. And maybe this scene, for example, is going to be like a better like that, right? You might be getting better and more consistent results by, moving away from machine doing everything for you, and you basically being a little bit more in control and just using more consistent matching model, okay? Because, we are kind of developing it towards, hey, I want to have a one click that's going to match it all. But in a way, some material, it's just going to feel more consistent if even if it fluctuates a little bit in exposure and color, it just feels more consistent because that's the part of the story, that's part of the scene, that's part of what's happening, and you can allow, things to just, get a little bit, out of that kind of, perfect match, that the AI, is trying to do. So, just, consider that this would be like a really an interesting thing. And on also the major difference is this: when I'm working, with printer lights, really every time I adjust exposure, what I do is I adjust exposure here. I adjust exposure in printer lights, which is effectively more accurate to the original kind of attempt to, match exposure, if you know what I mean. Like, so when we match exposure, we are trying to do that with the linear light, so the printer lights are actually kind of mathematically a little bit more accurate. So, try to kind of play with it. This is really like what I'm trying to do. Like, I don't always just, grade with that kind of same setting that, application has been shipped with. This is why you have these settings, right? Well, this is why they exist here, so that you can tweak them, try out, see which one's going to work for your material, because every material is different. Right? Every show is going to want you to kind of, tweak a little bit, and then you're going to develop an intuition. I already have it because I'm using this application so much. I already have some sort of intuition. Okay, this is going to work really like if I match it with this mode and stuff like that. Okay. So this is like a, really important part. Just as I was watching, some of your results and some of them, like assignments, I really realized, that you could benefit from this particular thing. All right. Another question that I had a lot was like, hey, how do I make a great black and white look? Okay, so this is a great question, and you can do it. We have, created, a way how to do it, and you have to go into Look Designer. Okay, in the Look Designer, you want to reset all of these, like, this one, there should be no print stock, no nothing. You want to dial the saturation to 0 in Look Designer. Very important, you dialing the saturation in Look Designer down, not in a grade, okay? Because you're developing here the processing. Because if you think about it, first you have your shot coming through, then you have your show light. So you want black and white to happen in your show light, really, right? Okay, and then what you do is you click on your negative stock, and then you go into your phototones, because these are the photographic stocks, right? And there is a company in Britain called Ilford that still today makes probably the most expensive, or how would I say, like most kind of generous type of basically silver highlight on a single stock, and that black and white has got a very, very, very specific look. Okay, and we have it sampled. Right, so look, so you see how it kind of gives you that Ilford look. Okay, now sometimes, this black and white also calls for a very particular and strong contrast, because the reason why most of the time people like black and white is because, it has a lot of silver halide, it has a high dynamic range, it really grabs the shadow in a very particular way. So what I would always do is I would use S3, because S3 is kind of, the most, crunchier type of contrast. And talking about crunchy, well, you have a crunch. So you basically just go and you dial your crunch in a little bit, right? So you see what I got now is like you said, with a little crunch, right? And a little contrast, right? I have basically created an incredibly, like a strong, look at this, yeah, with a crunch and with this, right? And I have a great looking black and white, shot. And then what I do now is I can just go and say, okay, duplicate this show look, right? And then I'm gonna go now into my grade, and I can then name it just my black and white or something like that, right? So this is a really good way how to do it. I really love this Ilford profile, but as I said, the way, because you're processing everything in subtractive color, and the subtractive color is not like RGB. It works like that. There is like emulsion layers. Even if you're, applying an Ilford profile, it is still going to go and, blend the color layers. So this is why you must always use Ilford with desaturate. So this is a really important kind of tip, but you're gonna get absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful black and white, grade out of it. Okay, another question that I got a lot was this: is okay, so my shots, look, like this in let's say in Colourlab. Let's use this shot, right? So my shots look like this in Colourlab, but they look different in Davinci. So how to match what you see here on the desktop, right? This is only for the desktop, by the way, because your render, your SDI out is always the same. They match, they're not different. It's just the way how we're gonna match this graphical user interface, this image inside. All right, so let me show you the steps to do it. So first, let me just go and push this one to resolve. So I say push shot to resolve. I won't save it, it's okay. All right, let's do that. So now it's basically push the shot to resolve, continue. And then I'm gonna go to resolve, right? And there's the shot. And now I wanna make sure that basically this shot and this one, that they look the same. So how do I do that? Okay, so the first point is you have to ask yourself, okay, what kind of monitor am I using? So am I on an sRGB monitor or am I on a P3 monitor, right? So first thing you do is you go into your preferences here, okay, and you tell it, well, I'm using MacBook Pro, so my preferences are going to be P3D65, right? Because that's the native color space of my MacBook Pro monitor. It looks already gorgeous, right? Okay, great. So I got that. Then what you do is you go to Davinci and you have to do the same in Davinci. You have to say, Davinci, I'm using a P3D65 monitor, okay? And the way how to do that in Davinci is like this. You go into preferences, right? And here in general, there is these two questions that Davinci is asking you. Do you want to use 10-bit precision or you want to use Mac display color profiles for viewers? You want to say yes to both of that. Okay, and then what you want to do is, so now you're letting OS manage the display for Davinci. Okay, now you have to tell Davinci, right, what is your display. And what you do that is you tell it here what is the output color space. Now, I know that this is going to be confusing, but this is my output. This is where don't worry. You can always override this output color space render settings when you come to render. You can override those tags. This is just for you to tell, Davinci, hey, I want you to color manage in this way because I want my display to use, correct color. So what you do is you say, well, don't use same as timeline. Then you say P3D65, okay, you say, so where is it? So P3D65 and the gamma is sRGB. Okay, so now you got here P3D65 and sRGB. Okay, now this image and this image are 100% identical because this is why Apple built color management inside But the problem is we have to tell it, you know, it's not going to just do it by itself. And, you know, these applications are not built, you know, to natively just jump and do it, you know, so you have to tell the application, hey, dear application, dear Davinci, dear Colourlab, please, you know, make use of, you know, Apple's color management, and let me tell you this is my display, and let me tell you this is my display. And once you do that, you know, everything's then managed through OS, and then you have a full consistency. Okay, that is a really like a biggie one. You know, very often I get asked, well, why am I pushing back? It doesn't look the same. No, it does look the same. It's just that the display settings need to be matched. The same thing would happen if I was to use just an sRGB. When I have an external monitor that's sRGB, then I would say sRGB in Davinci, and I would say here in Colourlab Ai sRGB. Okay, so this is kind of, you know, the same principle. You only have two options, by the way. Apple does not support anything else but sRGB and P3D65 monitors. This is the two options, the only options that you will ever gonna need. Okay, so this is the one. Oh yeah, the next question was from Thomas. You know, he asked, hey, where should I put the grain? Okay, and it's a very good question. Okay, so Thomas, normally, right, where really you want to put the grain is you want to put it onto your camera, you know, into your camera space, isn't it? Because grain is not really part of the display, right? It's not something that happens on projection. It's part that that happens on your source effectively. Okay. Now look, the thing is what that means effectively, because this is our ODT that I pushed back, and so everything in front of this ODT is in scene referred space. So that means in your camera space. In our case, this is Arilog C. Everything that comes back from Colourlab is always Arilog C. Okay, so the best place to put it in, and usually what we do, actually, we don't put it here. Okay, what we do is I'm just gonna copy this, and I'm gonna, you know, mute this node. I normally go here into timeline node, and that's where I put my ODT, because, you know, my ODT is a single ODT, you know, like I just want my single ODT to basically, you know, manage, you know, the whole timeline, because I'm outputting to a single display at one time, not that every clip is getting different ones. So this is why I usually like to just move it and leave it on a display, so that then everything here, right, stays in scene referred space. So now what I do is I put then grain here in front of my ODT. So what I do is I say add serial before, because I want to add grain before it goes to the display space. Now, there is a challenge. And the challenge is this: if you use Davinci's grain, right, this film grain, okay, this grain doesn't really behave so well on effectively log footage. Okay, you can see, like, you know, very narrow band, so that your shadows and your highlights kind of stay without grain. Okay, so that's basically really what happens. All right, so what you really want to do is you want to kind of go and say, all right, let me now, you know, 1 second, I just got a little, you know, message to see that my input changed. 1 second. Oh, so that does it mean that this got disconnected? Yes, sorry, I lost my USB here. By the way, I was recording the other day courses, right? And I had the same problem, you know, that my USB cable from here got somehow disconnected. Okay, I won't be fixing it now. So let's do it later. Okay, is this working now? No. All right. Never mind. We'll continue later. I got now. Houston, I think we have a little problem now. It's okay. All right. Okay, let's go back. I see. Come on. Fantastic. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go close it. So this is why we developed basically the Grain Lab, because in Grain Lab, when you put the Grain Lab on, what happens is that you can tell GrainLab, well, I'm not working in 709 space. I'm actually working in my ARI log C space. So you see the difference between this grain now. You see how this grain now is applied, you know, on everything, right? It basically recognizes that it's working in log, and it's a huge difference. You know, it's a huge difference. You know, with the standard, you know, grain applied to log footage, you just get, you know, very, very particular results, you know, whereabout with this one, you know, you really, really, you know, apart from it, you know, using completely different algorithms, working different way, how to generate grain, everything else. But the basic, you know, structure and a way of, you know, is that, you know, the GrainLab was created to be applied to log footage. So just, you know, I want to just warn you to be careful about it. The workaround for you would be that you basically, if you don't have a GrainLab, the workaround would be that you say, okay, add the node before, right? You know, add node serial before and add serial after, right? Add serial. Okay, so then here you put grain. Okay, you say, okay, give me the standard film grain. And then what you do is you basically check. I mean, I don't know if they added it in grain controls, advanced controls. They didn't. Yeah, no, maybe they will. You know, Davinci is smart. You know, they listen. You know what we kind of problems we have, and they do it. You never know. So what you want to do is you want to do here color space transform log C to 709, and here 709 to log C. So that way you're applying grain in 2.4 gamma, which is what this grain is made for. So just so you understand, so this is a really, really, you know, a big difference. You know, if you want to be as precise and you really care about the grain. If you don't care about the grain, just slap it after the ODT. Who cares? You know, you just have a little bit grain. You know, you don't. You know, it depends. You know, what is it really that you're trying to do? Okay. All right, so, okay, now another question was, okay, how to switch to HDR, right? How to now switch everything to HDR. All right, so it is very simple, right? So in Davinci, right, what you do is, okay, let me just show you. I'm just gonna do it now first, you know, start with Colourlab. So you finished grading Colourlab and you say, okay, I want this grade to be also HDR grade. Okay, so let's do that. So you click here and don't use the hybrid log gamma. You know, this is what Thomas was saying to me. I was using hybrid log gamma. No, hybrid log gamma is not that widely, you know, used. You know, and I think you mentioned that you wanted to do it on YouTube HDR. What you want to do for YouTube, the best method is this one, Rec 2020 PQ1000 P3D65 limited. Okay, so you want to use this one. Now, this screen is going to change very little because we color manage this screen, but you see your scopes have changed and they are showing you this shot in nit values now. So that's in HDR, right? Then what happens if you now push to resolve, right? Push shot to resolve. I'm just going to be pushing shots at this time so that you see like really what's happening. Okay, continue, it's finished. Then you go into resolve, okay? Then you come here and here is now your ODT. You see, your ODT now is HDR, okay? So you're now converted this time into HDR. What is just essential for this file when it's rendered to be recognized as HDR, because I think that was your problem, Thomas. You rendered it and nothing happened. Well, you have to go in a render to go into your advanced settings, okay, advanced settings, and here it says color space tag and gamma tag. Don't use same as project, because remember, you're using your tags for project to be managing the display. So what you want to do is you want to say, okay, I want now this to be Rec 2020, right? And I want this to be ST2084 1000, right? So this is the settings, Rec 2020, ST2084 1000 nits. Now when you render, YouTube is going to recognize these clips as tagged as HDR, and they're gonna work perfectly in HDR. So this is when actually this whole effort really works. And then Thomas said, hey, what happens when I come and then I import my Sholat into Colourlab Ai? What happens then? Yes, we do convert it. So we are also like a lot converting software. We convert your Sholat to be Arilog C to Arilog C, no matter what it was originally. So we are always going to go and convert it to scene referred workflow because that's the way how we work. Okay. Now, just at the beginning of the stream, I had a question as well to how to work with the Colourlab Ai when I want to use Davinci color managed workflow. Okay, so I don't want to work in Davinci not color managed. So what I want to do is I want to be in Davinci, right? I want to tell Davinci, well, don't be just, like a Davinci YRGB, right? Don't be that. What you want to be is you want to be Davinci color managed. But before I do that, let me just quickly chat, what's happening in the chat before I continue. Steve, no, Steve, I don't have a grain yet. We're gonna add grain. So there was a question, hey, what happens with the grain? You have to manually add grain, I'm afraid, right now. We don't have a grain in Colourlab, but watch this space. Go to system preference sound, reselect the Mac. It changed when you lost the cable. Alrighty, so I think I got that. So you should guys still be able to hear me. Okay, very good, Niven. All right. Okay, so it got connected again. Okay, very good. All right, sorry. I think I don't know how it got in the middle of a stream disconnected. I don't understand. Never mind. Victor says, I usually use Rexona 9A when I have to grade on a Mac display, but MacBook Pro with M1 Pro and Max, for instance, support like 709 2.4 BT. What to do then? No, Victor, don't use these, 2.4 709 BT. Don't use that. That's a really, really complicated, and so just stick to, your native color space of your screen. So don't really force it to be 709. There is no benefit for you to do that. Really different 709 output colors for Colourlab Ai and Look Designer. Which one adheres to Gamma 2.4 when we're grading for broadcast? That's a question from Rishi. Rishi, they actually all do. All of them are 2.4 Gamma. Yeah, every single 709 output is 2.4 Gamma. The difference is just in the way how they tone map from scene reference space to the display space. Okay, because there is a process of tone mapping that has to happen when we go from very large dynamic space, like what we use in Arilog C, to small dynamic space of 6 stops of your display, and we have to mathematically reduce this dynamic space. Okay, and there are different approaches how to do it. So these different approaches is really the only difference to why we have different 709 outputs, but the output is output. Output is always 2.4 Gamma Rex 709, but how we come to that output, it's what's different with different settings. Okay, so that's really what you want to consider. Okay, so basically, keep in mind, when and listen, I actually feel it's totally aesthetic, decision what you want to do. You could be using, either one of them. They're always going to be correct for broadcast. There's no problem with that. You just really want to choose one that gives you the best look that you want, right? Okay. Victor says, but now the new MacBook Pro display HDR have options to set display to 709 and the specific gamma curve in nit value. Don't do it, Victor. This is a great idea or attempt that they have created. You can even set them to be HDR, right? The problem is you're going to set it to something that only you're going to be able to look at and nobody else. Do you understand? Only your display and this particular type of computer is going to look that particular way. And nobody else is going to see it like that. Okay? Whereabout if you set it to sRGB and sRGB, the whole world is in this color space, right? Or if you set it to P3D65, well, actually, Apple had years of experience with this translation from sRGB to P3D65, and that works absolutely fantastic. Okay, so don't, go exotic on the settings, because you don't want to don't want to corner yourself into something that only you're able to see. All right, that's my kind of advice. Okay, question: does that apply to external monitors on MacBook Pro 2? No, Joseph. The setting in preferences that I showed you only applies to the display. It's got nothing to do with your external monitor. Your external monitor has got completely different path. The signal's going out, so nothing really happens, right? Is there a way to push the resolve if you start by importing into directly? That's a very good question, Colin. We could do that. I don't understand why I didn't enable it. And Igor is on the live stream. So Igor, I'm gonna be messaging you after the live stream. He's the guy who does it actually. All right, so I'm gonna talk to him about it. Hey, take me back to my college photography study days. Oh yeah. Ew. When you manually had to, in the dark room, wind the Ilford stock, right? I know. Like, I know the God, I still love that smell of those chemicals actually from the dark room. That's the only thing we don't have now digitally. Hey Dada, my wave panel is not detecting on AI. Any suggestions? Steve, they just updated, this Tangent Hub, it's called. Just make sure you have the latest version of Tangent Hub, and it should be working. If not, just ping me on help@colourlab.ai. We'll see what's happening. When is the Windows version coming? Oh my God, you're the fifth person that asked me today. Uh, I have to tell you that it's coming, but I cannot tell you exactly when. We are, the score. It's happening. We have like a lot of work doing. We're looking actually to expand the team at the moment. So let's see. Hey, very good, very good. Excellent, excellent. Alrighty. And says Victor, even when grading 709 gamma 2.4, Victor, I would say yes, even when grading 709 2.4. If you're grading something 709 2.4, then connect an external monitor to your, that is 709 monitor, and monitor like this. If you really want to go 709 2.4 grade for broadcast, for anything like that, connect a monitor that is like that. These display devices that are used on Macs are not broadcast reference monitors. They are sRGB or P3 screens managed only through ICC profiles. They don't give you true representation to they give you, an imitation of that. Really, you have to understand that the whole ICC alone is not enough to calibrate a monitor to be in proper color grading standard, right? You have to understand there is a problem with gamut that ICC doesn't do. So if you're really grading something for broadcast, you must have some form of reference monitor, not just your desktop display. Okay, that's really my take on it, right? If you're saying like, well, I'm grading, for broadcast, for online, for whatever, just then use, whatever your display is doing, because that's how people will be watching, right? So don't even bother with that. Okay, the reason why we still leave 709 2.4 even when we are grading for online or something like that is because actually those two color spaces are completely compatible. 709 and sRGB, they look identical. The gamma is slightly different, right? The gamma works slightly different, but if you leave it at 2.4, you get some sort of more like a kind of the cinematic gamma feel. I find it, so I kind of quite like that. And a lot of content, I would say 90% of content that you see that has been repurposed for online was originally always graded at 2.4 gamma or for 2.4 gamma screens. So, it's not really wrong thing to do that, Sir, have set my oddity in timeline level without affecting graphic and title. Interesting. No, you don't, So when you have basically, there's a question, what can I get in my ODT set without my title getting affected? The answer is no. Your title is always going to get, and it should be affected. That should be the thing, You should not basically, like output graphics in one color space and your video in the other color space. So, that would be like a wrong way how to do it. Okay, Rolanda, can you talk about three buttons in the viewer, flat center 9 and the color icon? Why does it look different when I click center 9 button? Oh, very good question. All right, but I'm going to come back now to color management in a minute, guys. Let me just go and answer these questions because they're quite fun. All right, let me explain you what the question is. All right, so this one here, this button here, that is the default button, is showing you your lift gamma gain and your show LUT. Okay, when I now press 709, I'm only seeing the file and ODT, no CDL, no show LUT. This is what I call ungraded. Okay, this is what I call ungraded because flat is your source. Flat is what's coming in before any IDT color management. And I find it quite challenging that when I look at the flat image and graded image to say what's really happened here, because the difference is so big. At the end of the day, this log image is not meant to be viewed on a display anyway. Okay? So what you do is you say, this is why we introduced the 709, because with 709 you say like, okay, what's the standard look that I would get with just a 709 LUT? This is the look. And this is what I graded. And I find that this difference to me is telling me much more to what I'm doing with an image than this image, right? This is like a jump. Okay, I used to do this like when I wanted to impress my clients, it's like, oh my God, look what I did with your image. It was like this, and now it's like, bam, like this, but it doesn't work anymore. Most people have kind of figured out, yes, of course, I get it. You kind of put a transform for log. So really, for your practical way of what you're grading, what you're creating with your image, 709 is much more useful, right? Because it's basically just telling you, hey, I have a 709, and I just click on that and I see, what did I grade it? How did I grade it? You can see exactly difference in contrast and so on. Okay, by the way, you can just go and press, command and tilde, right? Or just a tilde. So if you press tilde, you get 3 seconds 709. Tilde, 3 seconds 709. So that's just enough for you to kind of have a look at the image. So it automatically switches itself off. And with this, deliberately did this because, there is nothing more annoying that when you switch this view and you forget that you switched it and you wonder, why is nothing changing, So that's basically why we left it like this. Okay. So this is for Rolando question. Now, Dide said, I love your idea color just be metadata in an editor. It would be awesome if the CDL would be a site file, just like with Bro. Dide, that works already in systems like, I believe definitely Ari supports it, and I believe, even Red, I believe, can support it and so on. They all have ability to do CDL, but the support from the playback systems for grading systems, it's absolutely not good. So yeah, this is why we decided to build our own color metadata system that's much more robust than all of this. And watch this space, we're going to be expanding this more and more. For the first time in a history, right, you can now have same color metadata work in Premiere, Final Cut, and Davinci. Never. When before were you able to take a look, right, and apply it in Premiere, Final Cut, and Davinci at the same time and get the same result? Never, because each one interprets files differently. You take a LUT. Oh yeah, but LUT works here in this color space doesn't work, it's impossible. And then LUT is locked, right? You can only have one look. Now you can have editable metadata, color metadata work in any of those systems, and we're gonna continue expanding this, to other applications, After Effects, nuke. You know, we want to make basically Color Engine available to everybody, and gonna be so easy just to send these small files. And then the difference is this. Look, a LUT is 12 megabytes if it's 65 point LUT. Now that same precision of image processing that 65 point LUT gives, we get in 12 kilobytes. 12 kilobytes. It's a huge difference, right? And that's a kind of, you know, what happens when you have, you know, integrated Color Engine. You know, this is why we call it virtualization, right? Because it just takes that. All right, so Premiere Resolve, bring it with me. Can I start editing with color straight from the project panel media pool? Okay, yes, we have looked into it, you know, and it would mean that we would have to apply effect already on the source level. So yeah, we will probably, you know, include that, you know, we'll have to see whether this is an interesting thing for us to do or not. Okay. Yes, I understand. Yeah, we have to see, like, what it means that all these effects would have to apply again at the source. We managed to do it really easily in Final Cut, but you know, for Premiere, it's a little bit more challenging and difficult. This is why, unfortunately, you have to put them on timeline first at the moment. So that it's just the way how different systems, you know, behave with different colors. Luca says, "Hi, I'm late to the party. How's everyone? I have a question about neutralizing shots in D65 for VFX workflows." Very good. That's a very good question, Luca. Let me show you. You go to AI references, and then you go to search. You say D65. All right, sorry, D65. You should have it here, this one. Okay, this is the one. Neutral D65. Okay, remove the LUT. So you want to use as AI reference neutral D65, and you want to do that. So when you do this, this is your neutral D65 visual effects balance. Okay, that is developed purely for that reason. Purely for that reason. Okay? And you see the difference, you know, like this is really what you want, you know, you want your kind of shots to be neutral. This is with a look. This is just a neutral grade. And again, this is the difference, 709 and neutralized, D65. So this is the answer for you, Luca. Then Vasya says, maybe a silly question, but what is your suggestion for complete beginner? I love complete beginners. I'm so much enjoying Vasya, you know, people who are discovering color grading through Colourlab because it's so much more easier to use than Davinci or anything else. From where to start? I mean, for editing color grading, I don't know. I just say, please, a few main keywords to understand. So Vasya, if you're an editor, okay, what you do is this. You start with a course which is called Fundamentals of Digital Color Processing. This is your start. You really want to learn what's happening. You know, how is this thing working? How does the color pipeline work today? Okay, so all these things I'm talking about, scene referred, display referred, CDL, print alignment. What is all of this? What's log curve? You want to learn this. It's not going to teach you color grading, but you just want to know what is happening. What are we talking about? Okay, so this is a course. The second course is then we have a course which is called Color Grading in Theory and Practice, and it's just started now. Actually, if you want to join it, you haven't missed much, you know, because because of my microphone problem, I had some issues. Never mind. So there is a course that just started, which is called Color Grading in Theory and Practice. And if you have never touched grading, you know, if you never ever even attempted to grade, you're going to be able to learn. That's where I start. That's how I make look. That's why I grade, why we grade. This is reason why. This is how do I look at an image as a colorist? Because, you know, colorist doesn't look at an image like a director or cinematographer. There is a massive difference to how we perceive color, how we look at an image, and how they do, right? So you want to look at those details, understanding what's happening, see where you're going, right? Then you're going to go and learn, this is how you do the basic grading now in Davinci. This is how you do basic grading in Colourlab if you want to use Colourlab. So you basically can see that the tools doesn't really matter. It's really what you do with them. Okay, and then you're going to be able to start neutrally balancing, applying little looks. Then you get like to learn how to make different looks. Okay, I want to make this look, I want to make this look, I want to make this. And you know what? It's super easy when you have tools for it. You get with the course all the software you need, like this kind of, look designers and everything you need to basically get those looks very quickly. So you don't have to spend months and years figuring stuff out on your own. And because a lot of these things that you learn online is great, but it's great if you already know how to grade and you're going like, oh, I need to learn something new, I need to do something new. But if you're like just starting and you start seeing all of those tips, it just takes you all over the place. So you need a good foundation first, okay? And then you can do a masterclass that we are just finishing now, which is basically just going to teach you, oh my God, now I can become so fluent. I understand the workflows, metadata, moving, tricks, building looks, matching, all of that. So basically that would be my suggested workflow. Just as a quick announcement, next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to announce a brand new package in partnership with Cinedi, which is this website, the news website. So if you want to wait for that, there's going to be a great deal for everybody who's just starting grading that we are working on with them. So that would be my suggestion to you. Kushik, sir, technical transformation with ACES plugin is very harsh and everything's leaning towards yellow, but when I use CST for ACES transform, everything is gentle and my skin tone is in proper place. That's correct. And why? Because we are using different tonal and gamut mapping in color space transform than we're using in ACES, right? When you're in ACES, you're using ACES algorithms. When you're in color space transform, you're using Davinci's algorithms, right? When you're in Colourlab Ai, you use any one you want. Because we are not, we let you choose which one you want. We have some from Ari, some of our own, some from ACES, some from Davinci. So you can choose, right? So basically, it's up to you to do it. Yes, you're absolutely right. And the reason why I never committed fully to ACES is because I'm waiting for version 2 of ACES that's going to allow us this flexibility to how we're going to be able to change an RT and ODT so that we are not always cornered to that harsh look that you're describing of ACES. This is just one look. Not every look should be like that. And I just feel that once we get the flexibility on the output and RT size from ACES, then I'm 100% in, and this application is going to work in ACES 2.0. So that's my kind of, but it's happening, and there is a great work doing. ACES is never had better people working in these groups, and it's such an amazing community there. So, it's hard to make standards. It's not easy, but they're doing a great job. I'm following it a little bit. As much as I can. And I can tell you that things are going to be great with 2.0. That's what I can tell you. All right. Is it possible to buy perpetual and later upgrade to studio? Anything's possible, Edgar. Nothing is impossible. Absolutely. Just go and get it, and then you just email us. And if you don't see the way how to do it on your website, you just tell us and we'll basically send you links and you can do this. No problem at all. Darren, the Look Academy I did a while ago was fantastic. Oh, thank you, Darren. For guys, you cannot get into Look Academy just like that. You have to apply for it. This is a course that is not open to everybody. It's by invitation, really, you have to apply and we will let you in if we think that you're ready for it. This is not the course that you just go and buy and do. You have to understand the Look Academy is very high end, and this year the finalists of Look Academy will have opportunity to grade their material on 300 nits cinema screen. Dolby Vision is 108 nits. This is 300 nits cinema screen. The best HDR for cinema ever. It's the future of cinema, I believe. It's nothing, you won't get anything better than that. So you will have to get on the plane, come to Hollywood, and sit in a grading theater equipped with one projector and you're going to be able to experience something most beautiful. I don't think there is nothing better for colorists to experience than to see their work on this massive 30-foot 300 nits screen. It's unbelievable. You know, it's like, you think about it. If you're a musician and you're in a big venue with a massive sound system and you hear your song blasting from these big speakers, this is what it's like to sit in front of that screen. And this is basically what finalists will get as a reward. But as I said, you have to like a really, go through application process. Yes, excellent. All right. Hi, everyone. Dada, do you believe AI is going to replace colorists? No, no. Okay, I get asked this question all the time. Of course not. Of course not. But colorists are going to become more important through AI because they will be able to do much more, and the power that colorist is going to have is going to supersede to what color is doing now. Right? So if you think about what DALL-E is doing or Stable Diffusion is doing, well, think about like in very near future, you're going to be able to create all of your content with AI. You won't even have to use the camera almost, right? And colorist is positioned perfectly to be that person who's going to be doing that. And and then once we introduce like in version 3 style transfers and all of this stuff, you're really going to be able to completely regenerate stuff for your clients. And so actually, if anything, colorist's job is going to evolve to the level that you can't even imagine. Right now, Hollywood still sees colorists as some technicians who do technical work of transforming images. But this is far from truth. Colorist is the person that brings everything together. You could have the best camera and people at home could have a best display. But you know what? It's useless without colorist who's going to make that link between the two and make a master file that's actually going to look very good so that when people watch it, it's going to look amazing on their screen. Do you understand? So the AI is just a tool that color is using. It cannot be replaced, right? But what AI is doing already today is letting a lot of people grade that were never able to grade before because they couldn't commit to the years of training. Davinci Resolve is free. It's true. But how many hours did each one of you invest into learning Davinci Resolve? Just go write it down and put an hourly rate, whatever you're charging, and try to see what's the real cost of becoming a colorist. What's the real cost? It's high, and especially the training courses and everything. But okay, training courses save you time because it's a kind of they give you like a compressed way of learning. So you spend like 1 or 2 weeks and you learn something. It takes you years, right? So that's basically maybe a shortcut. But you cannot just think, oh, technology is going to replace anything. Technology just empowers people, right? And changes their jobs in a better way, probably, because I can't wait for us. I mean, I'm definitely playing so much with DALL-E and Stable Diffusion, and I can't wait to actually integrate it in Colourlab Ai. I'll tell you more about it next time. I don't want to spill the beans too much. All right, Stephen asks, Dado has really opened up what's possible in our work. Thank you, Stephen. Yes, years. I know, Chad. I know. It takes years. And that's why I say don't start grading unless you really love it. You don't want to become a colorist unless you really love doing this, because you really have to commit if you want to get to that level. But to me personally, there is nothing more satisfactory than seeing an image, let's say like this, and then seeing an image like this and understanding and feeling how I have contributed to making this story more beautiful, better, easy to understand, easy to follow, and helping audience connect with it. That feeling of satisfaction of it's basically you get only when you're participating in some sort of form of creative artistic creation, right? This is really what color grading gives you. You go to a job to, you know, express yourself creatively and artistically. And I think, you know, this is a, to me at least, to my personality, to what I always felt life should be, is very, very satisfactory. So yeah, it has a great rewards that are not just financial. You know, being a good colorist is an incredibly rewarding. So I can recommend. Excellent. Yes, yes, yes. Excellent. Okay, great. I want to kind of, you know, now let me see what's the time. Oh my God, I already passed my hour. I'm sorry. Okay, I haven't showed you the still integration with color management for DaVinci Resolve. I'm gonna do that, I promise, in the next one. So, as I said, I really find this Q&A super, super useful. And I want you guys, you know, to basically, you know, help me also understand, you know, what's possible, because, you know, it's absolutely eye-opening, you know, to see, you know, what you got doing with it, and the questions and ideas you have. And I think this dialogue, you know, has to be much stronger. You know, the more development we do, the more in contact we want to stay with you. So thank you for being part of this community. We're going to continue working and making, you know, a better way for us to connect. Watch this space. We have some great announcements coming up in next week or so. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next Friday at the same time and same place. Enjoy, everybody, and yeah, enjoy your weekend. I hope to see you all very time soon. And whoever's doing the masterclass, I think we're doing at the moment color grading masterclass, color grading theory and praxis. I have material coming through you, like, you know, very shortly. And then on Monday we're also starting a SEMTI class. So you know, if you have not, you know, learned about it, have a look. You know, SEMTI is doing a certification program for color management that we really worked hard to make it as an industry standard. So thank you, everybody, again. Enjoy your day. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Thanks. Bye bye.